Hi everyone, welcome to day 2. It's good to have you here, LA King. It's good to have you here. Hi. Hello. Hi, Dr. EC. Good to have you here. Just wait for others to come into the meeting. How was your day? Hope you're keeping safe. Hope we're all well. And how was yesterday? It was amazing. Hi. Divya, good to see you. Let me unmute you so you can say hello. Just 1 second. Thank you for stopping by. It promises to be an amazing session. Let's wait for others to come in. Just give them 5 minutes before we start. We are also streaming live on YouTube, so you can always go back to watch the replay sessions, because I know most of us may not be able to stay to the end, but there will be the replay sessions on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. Yeah, I can see a member.
Hello, Choma. How you doing?
I'm fine. Hi, Mabong. So good to see you. Are you working?
Yes, I am. I couldn't join yesterday because we had some stuff in the office.
Okay, so you actually go physically?
Yes, but we are just 5. The sales people aren't working, so we observe social distancing.
Oh, okay. So let's wait for others to come in.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm sure we'll have a nice time.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hi, everyone. Who wants to say hello?
Hello.
Hi. Erichi, how are you?
I'm fine. Hello.
Okay. And we have a man in our midst, LA King. So good to have you here.
Both big and small happily agreed to work on the king's farmland because he is very good.
Let's give some 2-3 minutes. So we'll start 4:05. So can we have like feedbacks from yesterday? Like for those of us that were here, who was like your amazing speaker? Who was your best speaker? Yeah, thank you. We've not started. Who was your best speaker? Eric, I know you were here. I mean, what stood out the most for you? Let me unmute you.
Okay, so I'm going to pick 2 people. I'll pick the guy, the fragrance guy, the perfume guy, the guy, the Dubai guy, and the style rave lady.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know you're a star person, so.
So yeah, 2 of them.
Okay. I'm seeing someone is trying to reply at the chat group. You can actually speak. Hi, Debo. Thanks for joining in. Hi, Kate. Kate is here already. She's our first speaker.
Yeah, hi, Choma. Good afternoon from Port Harcourt. I'm
Hi.
actually in the middle of another meeting, so I'm multitasking somewhat, but I'll try.
Okay.
Yeah, this one by once in a while.
Okay, that's perfect. We totally appreciate the men in our midst.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I was in the right meeting because there's so all I was.
No, you're perfectly in the right meeting, for sure. You know, I mean, we are not like against men here. We work together to create great,
No.
better business.
Women are a very important part of my life. So
yes, we love men. But did you hear that?
Yeah, I didn't know how to respond.
Okay, so we are going to go straight up to the meeting. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to mute everyone so we don't get distracted. Where's that button? Mute. Oh. So my name is Choma Onoshapo, and I'm the convener of Boss Babes NG. And I'm passionate about women, really. I'm passionate about business and then about women. So I put it together to mean that I want to impact lives. I want to impact the lives of entrepreneurs, you know, around, particularly in Nigeria and then in Africa. I'm going to share a few slides with us just so that we know what the vision is when we started, see some lovely pictures, and then we go straight into the session. So when was BuzzWaves formed? It was formed in December 2018 out of a passion to help women realize their full potentials. Membership, it started off as being a free membership group for women from all walks of life. Up until last year, December, when we started off with a membership package for new members who want to come in and who want to achieve more from this female network. Our vision is to be at the forefront of leading and engaging female entrepreneurs in Nigeria as a template for developing countries. And then there's some pictures from our previous training. This was in May 2019. We had the CEO of Spring Interiors come speak with some of our ladies. She's into luxury interiors, so it was a fantastic session with her. We always encourage people to come in with, our little babies, because we know we are creating a balanced society. We need to support women and men, obviously, who have nowhere to keep their children and want to attend sessions like this. We had an event with Linda Ikeji in November 2019. Linda is a very popular blogger in Nigeria, where we hosted her because we realized that female entrepreneurs sometimes need some kind of mentorship. So they like to look up to someone who is, kind of like made in a particular industry to come speak with them. They can hear their challenges and then their success stories. We realized that it was easy for women to be inspired, really, on their entrepreneurial journey. So this was in Port Harcourt. So I think that's where we flagged off our branded t-shirts. We have the black version, and then we did a training on personal branding. And then after the training, everyone gets a certificate, like you can see. And then this little baby joined us for the training throughout that day. It was an amazing time. So as a slogan, we say, when you say boss babes, we say 7 figures. So that just kind of remains in our minds. Like when we set a goal to make 7 figures, so you're either making 7 figures monthly, quarterly, annually, you know, by monthly, however works for you. But 7 figures should be a goal to get you motivated and, you know, inspired to make more. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the speakers. Yesterday we had Ebuka. It's a fantastic session. You can watch the replay on our YouTube channel because it went live. We had El Funny from Star Rave, fashion brand. We had Bibusa all the way from Germany. She talked on women empowerment goals and how it's going to change post-COVID-19. We had Win Steven, who's a perfume multi-billionaire all the way from Dubai. Spoke to us on his brand and how he survived the 2008 recession. And, you know, he shared with us how we are going to survive this recession that's going to hit the global space. We had Angela as the last speaker. She's an education principality, like they call her. So she talked to us on how the education industry is going to change post-COVID-19. Yeah, so today I'm going to introduce the first speaker. Her name is Kate Carney. Kate Carney is an experienced business consultant, lawyer, and strategic advisor. Today, she helps scale businesses, empower female founders with game-changing ideas, and encourage investment by women and in women. Working with clients, she takes a founder-centric approach to performance, focusing on leadership, talent, and organizational design. She believes alignment of these critical areas results in a culture that supports sustainable growth. She works with her clients to help them transition successfully from founder to CEO, to develop and engage their teams, and to facilitate innovation and collaboration. As a complement, she also serves as a legal counsel to startups from formation to exit. So I'll just stop sharing. Hi, Kate. Are you here? I saw you somewhere just now.
1 second. Yes,
Okay.
I lost the screen for a minute, but I am back in action. Hi.
Hi.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, amazing.
Same? Every day looks like every day? They all sort of look the same right about now?
Right, like, is it the weekend or is it the weekday? We don't even know.
We don't know anymore. We don't know. But we're surviving. We're all surviving.
Yes, we are.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, so thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up a screen and then we'll dive right in.
Right.
Let me just get you over here.
So what time is it at your end?
It is 11:13, so
Oh, yeah, so sorry.
It's not early. I'm a morning person, so it's fine.
Okay.
I like the morning. I've been up for hours, so I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about transitioning from a founder to a CEO, and that's an extremely difficult transition for most founders to make, and it's imperative to be able to do that for your business to be able to grow. So we're going to talk about 5 ways or points about how to make that transition. And that's time management. There's no doubt when the business starts to grow, the demands on your time become greater, and you've got to prioritize and move pieces around. It demands that you understand the role of a CEO so that you can get your mind in that framework of being a CEO, which will require new sets of skills and networks that you have to build. You know, your job as the CEO is to build a great network around you. And then it's really important about building your team and engaging your team, right? At the end of the day, a CEO empowers, coaches, and listens. And that is your role at the end of the day. Oops. Hold on. Oops. So to talk about time management, which we all talk about right now, it's so popular to talk about, but we know all founders are really busy. And women in particular cite that work-life balance is one of the #1 challenges to be starting a business and building a business. Whether that's children, partners, spouses, taking care of the elderly, or just your friends, it's hard to find a balance. And particularly today, with everyone working from home and children at home that needs homeschooling, the lines and the demands on your time on both the home and life and work side are extreme. And what often happens for founders is they become burnt out. I mean, most of us become burned out, but I think founders particularly are susceptible to being burnt out, which means you've lost your vision, your passion, you're probably tired and irritable. And that has a negative impact on your team and their morale and your execution. And so it's important to think about self-care, which there are so many articles on burnout and self-care. I'm not going to get into it, but it's important to reset and recharge your batteries. And whether that's eating well, exercising, sleeping, getting enough water, meditating, you know, whatever works for you, it's really important. But what I want to do is focus on 2 tips. The first one is setting boundaries. And as women, we tend to be people pleasers. And so we just say yes, yes, yes to everything. And saying no is hard. And learning to say no is just practice. And start with the things you really don't want to do and the people outside your network. So you don't have to take every phone call or every now virtual meeting with somebody who just wants to talk to you and learn more. But the hard ones are saying no to the things you really want to do. And for me, that's where it gets really tough. Those networking events or virtual happy hours now that could have really great, amazing women on that you want to meet, or the panel or webinar, something like this that you really want to learn from, or demands from your loved ones. It's learning to say no. I'm not saying say no to everything, but you need to realize you can't do it all. You know, we like to think we can do it all, but we can't do it all. And so you've got to figure out where your non-negotiables are, where your boundaries are, and share that with those around you. And right now with everyone at home, some of that is just saying, hey, when I'm clocking in at 9, 5 at the end of my day, when I'm in my day, I'm in my day, and please don't interrupt unless it's an emergency. The second thing that I want to talk about is time blocking. And that means using your calendar. Most CEOs say this is one of the most important things that they do. It's using your calendar and blocking off family time, meetings, calls, big projects, break time, time to think, friends, putting everything into a calendar and trying as hard as you can to stick to that calendar. There are studies that show a 90-minute block is the most effective, followed by a 5 to 10-minute break. And by break, I mean get up, walk around, do something that relaxes your mind, put your phone down, don't be scrolling. That does not help. And as the job is growing, right, and you're building, the demands on your time are greater. And so #1 thing you have to do is prioritize. And I'm sure most of us know the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you do accounts for 80% of the results. So we need to stop getting caught up in the urgent fire drills that seem to be everywhere and focus on the things that are important and move the needle. So if your goal is to increase sales, let's say, then your priority at this time might be interviewing, hiring, and onboarding salespeople, a sales team. And that may be what's number one, and maybe there's a piece of your strategy that falls to the back. And then finally, I'd say, given where we are right now, the priority needs to be taking a step back and for yourself and for your business, and taking a hard look at the mission of your business, the vision. Are you on track? Look at your strategy. Think about, how has consumer behavior changed? What are some macroeconomic factors that impact my business? Where are some industries that are picking up pace? And really think about whether you need to pivot your business. And don't rush into pivoting, which everyone talks about, let's go pivot. But think about whether there are ways you need to pivot, and look as far out as 4 weeks and then 8 weeks. We don't know what's going to happen beyond that. And so just the little tweaks that you can make that help any revenue driver you have, look at it over the 2-month period of time and make adjustments there, and then revisit it again if in a month or 2 months, once we know more of what's going to happen. But that's your role as CEO of a business, is to really think about strategy and be really clear about where you're going, and if you need to pivot. So what is the role of a CEO versus being a founder, right? Why aren't they the same thing? It means going from, hey, this is my baby, this is my thing, to this is a business. And why is that so hard? Because it's your idea. It's your sweat and tears. It's your, you hired teams, or probably friends or friends of friends. It's your culture. It's an extension of you. Everything everybody does is sort of how you do it. And they feel really connected to you, and it's a small team, right? But as it becomes a business, it changes. And you have to start putting the business ahead of your own personal achievement as this is my idea. And so what I would say is, think about this. Founder, execution person, ideas person, heads down, doing the work, hustle, hustle, hustle. That's the founder. A CEO becomes a leader and a manager, and that's very different. And so when we talk about the role of a CEO, that means establishing culture, developing and hiring your managers, encouraging collaboration, putting systems in place so you automate as much as you can, and serving as the connection to all of your stakeholders. And that right now is super important, as everybody is struggling financially and business may have stopped for you. You're talking to your investors, you're talking to the market, customers, you're talking to vendors, you're talking to employees. All of those communications and stakeholders, that's your job. And so it becomes a little less about execution. And let's be honest, that's a huge role. And for most founders, they don't have the skills for that role. And they have this fear of failure that pops up. And am I smart enough? Can I do it? Will I let people down when I do it? And you've really got to come from a growth mindset that, with hard work and input from others with experience or books that have information, you can learn a new skill. And so go seek out coaches, mentors, leadership programs, things like this, maybe peer-to-peer networks like you've got going on right now. You can learn from each other and the mistakes everyone makes by sharing stories, and that's really important. Number of startups are putting together founder and advisory boards, kind of sort of a set of mentors that actually are formalized into more of an advisory board and meets with founders on some cadence, whether it's once a quarter or by phone call. And that could be important. But it is hard to have all the skills, and nobody's going to have them. And I'm not telling you to have all of them. Understand generally how each of your functions work, a little bit of the financial, the marketing, understand, but you can't do it all. And so you have to take a very hard look at yourself and be honest about what your strengths are. Are you a tech person? Are you a salesperson? Are you a marketing genius? Put your time and energy into the things you're great at and hire people to fill in the skills around you. Once you put the people around you that have the skills you need, then you can remove yourself from the middle of everything. And that's the number one thing that founders do wrong. They don't delegate. They don't take themselves out of the center of everything. They hold on to control. They don't let others make decisions. And all that does is become a bottleneck, and you can't grow your business. And I get that it's hard, but it comes to hiring the right team and putting them in place and then letting go and trusting that you've hired the right people with the right skills and put them in the right jobs. And so that's sort of what the role of the CEO is when you think about it broadly versus being a founder, which is a little bit more heads down, heads down. I see chats popping up, so I don't know if I can see them without coming out of my screen, but are there questions that you want to say, or I can come out of my screen?
No, I think you should just finish up then.
Okay. Yeah. So how to build a team. Very important. Your team is the most important thing that you have, your asset, your commodity that you have to build your business. And so it starts with knowing your strategy, where you're headed, and breaking that down into objective goals, sales, whatever the goal, product development, to the goals. And then figuring out what functions you need and what skills and experience you need in each one of those functions. And then you go out to market and you look for that person. And if you're really clear about, hey, this role means you do X, Y, and Z, and my expectations for 60 days, 90 days, 6 months are X, Y, and Z. If you're clear, you're going to attract the right people because they're going to fit the bill. So if you're, hey, I need to take my sales from 100,000 to 500,000. You go out to market and you look for somebody who has built a sales team and has doubled and tripled sales revenue for a company. That's what you're looking for. The problem as you start to scale for a lot of founders is that you started with a small team. Everybody was a generalist. Everybody wore every hat, and you kind of just functioned as one overlapping group. And now that you need these functions in place, really your generalists don't fit there. They don't have the skills, but they've been there from the beginning. They're super loyal, and you don't want to just get rid of them. But forcing them into a role that does not fit them is not great for you, and it's not great for them. And so maybe you have the luxury of keeping them on while hiring people above them for the functions. But if you don't, it may mean letting them go. And that's one of those tough jobs of being a CEO. And sometimes it has to happen because what it is it's time to hire senior people. And most founders wait too long to hire senior people. I get it. Getting it wrong is a costly mistake with your time, your energy, and money. And so you're hesitant, but you want to surround yourself with people that have those skills that are greater than yours in order to build the business out. And so you're going to have to take that leap. Be clear again about what you're looking for. And most importantly, find a cultural fit. That goes for anyone on your team. Cultural fit, number one. So get clear about what culture you want, the values, set up the traits you want in employees. Is it enthusiasm? Is it great with ambiguity? Is it curiosity, team player? Get real clear and ask questions that go beyond skills. Like, what didn't you like about your last job? Why? What's your superpower? What do you need to be able to do your job best as possible? Cultural fit is key. One point there, cultural fit does not mean that everybody looks the same and is the same. In order to solve difficult problems and see innovation, you need diversity of thought, of opinion, of experience, cultural background, race, gender, age. You need a mix in there so that you can actually solve problems and bring people to the table that have unique perspectives. But once you've got that whole team in place, right, you feel solid about them. And I guess I would say right now, obviously, maybe you're facing that you have to let go of some of your team or furlough them. and tell them you're coming back to them. And that I appreciate is tough. Again, unfortunately, the tough stuff falls in your bailiwick. Or maybe you are ready to hire people and you've got to put it on pause right now because you don't have the money for that anymore. And that means you're going to do more. And so again, great time to work on different skill sets, dive into the numbers, understand a piece of your business. And so you elevate your own skill set while you're trying to work on the business. And lastly, when you've got the team together, most important thing you can do is engage your team. An engaged team outperforms every time. Research shows an engaged team will always outperform an unengaged team. And so you need to empower, coach, and listen. I'm coming back to those words: empower, coach, and listen. You have to start by getting them engaged with the mission. So your job as CEO is to tell a clear and compelling story to the market, to your investors, to others, but mostly to your team. Because an engaged team is one that's enthusiastic and committed to the business and its success. And that's what you want. And the more you grow, the less connected people feel to you. And so you need to work on it even harder to make sure they remember that story and they stay connected to your why. Why are you in business? Who are you serving? And once they feel that, it's tying those objectives that you've already set to their direct function. You're bringing them in and you're saying, hey, this is how you contribute to our success. This is exactly how you're contributing. I'm going to tie what you do to an objective. I'm going to set targets or performance metrics, get down to numbers, come up with something you agree to. And when they hit it, reward them. And I'm not saying you have to have money and a big bonus because most of us don't have that, but a shout out in a team meeting, public recognition is so much more valuable to so many people, and it builds trust. Maybe it's a little gift card to something or a little trinket of some sort. Maybe it's letting them work on a project that's outside their scope. Younger generations are saying personal and professional development is more important to them than money. And so giving them room to grow may be reward enough. And lastly, when I say empower, again, get out of the middle. Give them the room to do their job however creatively they want to do it. Let them do their tasks and functions. Let them own what they're doing and have pride in it. And that will create accountability. And then listen to them. Listen, listen, listen. As much as you can, hold town halls, one-on-ones with people, brainstorming sessions, off-sites when we're allowed to leave our houses again. Listen and provide feedback. Again, younger generations want feedback all the time. You take in feedback, ask for feedback from them on your leadership styles. It can really be important. And I'll end with just a quick note on engaging your team given where we are, right? So everybody's working from home and it feels very disconnected and people are torn between personal lives and professional lives and are feeling really isolated. Some are alone. And so reaching them and engaging them is going to be all about communication. And 4 things to think about: make that communication regular and predictable. If you're a business that has a lot of tasks to do every day, all hands meeting in the morning, bigger projects, cross-functional, once a week or bi-weekly, but make sure it's regular and predictable. There you go. And then the tools, obviously, we've got a ton of tools. Zoom, we're all using, Slack channels, Instant Messenger, email. For projects, you've got Asana, Trello, Google Docs, Microsoft Teams. Make sure you align the medium with the type of meeting you're having and the software with the type of projects. Zoom is great because 93% of what you communicate is nonverbal. It's in your body language. It's in your facial expression. And so it's very hard for people to misinterpret things when you're just IMing and emailing. Maybe Slack is great for, working on a quick project. I need quick answers. Thoughtful transparency means tell people the information they need to know. It's very easy when everyone's working from home to have the information become very siloed and people get frustrated and it's inefficient and people start to think the worst of their colleagues through not sharing. And so make sure there is information flow. And lastly, provide opportunity for social interactions. People are hungry for social interactions. And so maybe you create a Slack channel about a certain interest that people may have. People who are into food, right? Foodies can talk to each other, or have these happy hours that people are having, but provide something that's outside of work, that's a social interaction for people. And at the end of the day, all the communication in the world is just focused on building trust. You as a leader need to build trust, and they need to trust you. You need to trust them, and then the work will get done and you'll be able to build a business. That's, you know, I'll stop there because I'm sure people have questions. So I will, hold on. I will figure out how to escape my screen.
Yes, great.
See some questions. Where's my, hold on.
So did you see the stop share button at the top?
I stopped sharing.
Mhm.
Hold on. Now my Zoom is not expanding. All right. Well, all right. Hold on. There we go. Now we're expanded.
Right, right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kate. I mean, it's been an inspiring session for me. I mean, I've had my notes down, writing, you know. So let's just go straight to the questions. I think you have like 4 here. Do you want to read them out and just state them? Or you want me? Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so can we hire freelancers instead of hiring full-time staff? Yes. Freelancers are a great way to get jobs done when you don't have the cash to hire a full-time person. For me and most businesses I work with, they go on to Upworks. I went on to Upworks the other day because I needed a ton of data entry, and it wasn't something that was useful for me to spend 20 hours on, and so I found somebody to do it. But you can find freelancers for anything on there, really well priced. You can try to get reviews, and I absolutely think freelancers are a way to go when you don't have the money. Absolutely. Let's see. How do you manage the risk and letting them work without supervision? This comes back a little bit to the trust factor. And it's the regular and predictable communication. There is always a risk, but honestly, if you're building a business and you're all in the same room, there's still a risk that they aren't getting the work done on the timeline you need. But the accountability and the structures shouldn't change just because we're working from home. So the supervision doesn't change, right? You're checking in with your supervisor on a regular basis, whatever time frame that person sets. And once you've got that communication and you're doing your job on time, and supervisor, you're saying, okay, I feel comfortable this person's doing their job, then the trust builds and you can let people do a little bit more. But stay on top of people when you're working from home. Don't change anything about regular check-ins, supervisors asking questions. Be on top of it. How soon do you think a CEO should work at their business hands-on before they start to employ or delegate? I don't think it's a time frame, it's a size frame. So for some people, it's a small team of 2 to 5 for a very long time, maybe till you get certain funding and you're about to expand and you've got your seed round of funding. It's really a question of the size of the business and when you start to grow. So if you are spending all your time executing and in the weeds and you're feeling burned out, or honestly, where you haven't had a minute to figure out where you're headed or where you're going, right? That's not a good thing. You should be focused on the bigger picture things, and you should have time for that. You should be out if you have to meet with investors. You should be the face of the business. So if you really have no time for any of that and you're just like, it's time to start hiring people. And it's time to start hiring people when you get into, I need to work on marketing. That's what I have to do first. For a lot of companies, it's product design or marketing, right? I'm not good at it. Hire someone. Whether you start with a freelancer to do certain things, hire somebody. Hire a consultant. It's okay to hire a consultant for a 3-month trial. without hiring them full time. See if it works. Don't jump into bed with someone you're hiring for full time, but give it a 3-month trial and see where it goes. Following up on staff and micromanaging can be a lot of responsibility considering you have your own pursuits. How do you manage? I'm not sure if everyone means your own pursuits separate from the business, but I mean, the goal is to not be micromanaging, right? I mean, if you want to grow a business, you've got to get out of the micromanaging mindset and trust the people you've hired. You know, if you have other true pursuits that are outside the business, then yeah, your time's going to be stretched and your ability to oversight is going to be more difficult. And quite frankly, if it's outside the business, you have employees that start to question your dedication. So in that case, it's very hard. If inside, if you are the one, you know, looking for investment, which usually takes people, you know, months of doing, and it takes up 40% of a founder's time, right? You can't be micromanaging, and you want to get to a place before that where you're comfortable that people are doing their job. How do you manage letting go, moving in the company of a friend or family member when they have helped you build your business? I mean, there's no great answer to that. It's going to be a difficult conversation no matter what you do. I think it's very important how you frame it, right? You've been such an important part of the business. You've been such a big help. You are the foundation. I really appreciate it. We are now expanding. I don't think it makes sense anymore for you and I to whatever. Also, I say when you're letting go of someone who's been there at the beginning, give them equity, give them a piece of equity, even if it's tiny, but say you've been there from the beginning and you should have the upside from the beginning. So I'm going to give you a little piece of equity right now because I appreciate everything you've done. And that often helps soften the blow. And a little tiny piece of equity for somebody leaving, you know, 1%, 2%, 0.5% in that range isn't the worst thing for you. And it could go a long way of smoothing things over with who you let go of. In a virtual work environment, how can you really and truly assess productivity or what amounts to actual work activity? So again, this comes down to trusting and continuing to supervise people and have these regular check-ins. But it also, as a leader, means setting expectations. So I send you an email, even when we're working from home and everyone's distracted, I expect responses within an hour. If I send you Slack, I expect, you know, responses within 15 minutes. I expect that everybody goes to work at 9 and the day ends at 5, right? Set some parameters so you know people are still working and they know what the rules of engagement are, that they haven't changed just because you're working from home. And then again, regular checkups and ask the questions, you know, all hands meeting in the morning. What did you accomplish yesterday or this week, whatever you're doing? What did you accomplish? What is on your task list for tomorrow? Are there any problems that are hindering you from being able to accomplish those? Let's get them off the table. Great, then check up again. Those are all done. What is your next task list? And it's just constantly following up with them and setting expectations for the level and quality of work that you expect, that nothing changed just because we're all working from home. Anybody else?
I think that's about
That might be it.
Thank you so much, Kate. So I'll just briefly tell everyone how I met Kate. We met on LinkedIn. So if for nothing else, I want to thank COVID-19 for making it possible for meeting you. So I mean, as entrepreneurs, networking is something we should always do. Don't just be on social media just to chit chat. You should grow your network, meet new people. I mean, the walls are broken. You can be somewhere in Africa and you have a friend or a business partner somewhere in the US or in South Asia. So, I mean, it's something that we should all build, those kind of social skills going forward. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, so jump on LinkedIn and friend me. It's Kate Kearney, and we can stay in touch. And if you've got questions, you can shoot them over to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and Kate, you also do sell some coaching program.
I
saw
do.
that.
So I help female founders scale. and I work with them one-on-one. It's regular meetings by Zoom, and it's unlimited email access, and we talk about all of these things. And the goal is to give you more confidence in making the decisions you need to make on the fly, with everything making you, crazy coming in, and you've got to make a big decision. It's in helping you grow as a leader, and it's in helping you with a lot of these things that come up as you're building. And right now it's for navigating crisis. So it's all encompassing leadership coaching, and it's focused on helping female founders just grow their businesses. I want them to make more in revenues and hit those $1 million marks.
Right. Brilliant. So anyone who's interested, just pop me up and I'll link you up with Kate, or you can go straight to her LinkedIn page. Just tell her that you're from the Boss Babes meeting, and then you're free to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kate. Lovely house. Can we switch? Can I move to the house?
Thank you. It is. I'm very lucky. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll go straight to the second speaker. She's right here. Before I read her profile, I want to give a special shout out to Shulamite Ube. Is she in the house? Shulamite. She's one of us. She's part of the Boss Babes group. Shulamite, are you here? So recently, she just said in the group that she's had to close down her business. It's been rough and it's been tough. And I told her I was going to give her a special shout out, and that's just what I've done. Shulamite, we are with you, and we're here to support you during the crisis and after the crisis. So, Ambassador Fabian Swill Randall, sorry if I pronounced that wrongly. She is a development communicator using her expertise as a professional journalist, motivational speaker, MC, and actor. Ambassador Swill draws attention to social issues in order to trigger positive action. For using her influence to successfully draw attention to issues of women and youth empowerment, civic rights and responsibilities, and democratic consolidation, she is recognized as Youth Ambassador, one of the 50 most influential Sierra Leonean women 2019-2020, one of the 100 most influential young Sierra Leoneans 2018-2019, one of the 100 most inspiring Sierra Leoneans 2019, Best Young Actor 2019, Best Television Presenter 2019, and many other prestigious local and international awards. Fabian is a social entrepreneur running her own endowment production, which produces the Phoebe Swill platform, a widely watched lifestyle TV show on national television and YouTube with thousands of viewers and followers, and other media content, documentaries, feature, cinema, films, and adverts. The Tony Elumelu Foundation Hub lead for Sierra Leone said, I chose this work having understood the power of influence and how it can contribute to development. Fabian said, adding that my mass influence and following has helped me to develop a voice that helps drive my country and by extension my continent towards positive growth. Thank you, Fabian, for being with us, or Ambassador. I apologize. Can you take the floor now, Fabian? I saw her just now. Hi, Fabian. Hi, Fabian. Are you trying to connect?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, perfectly.
Oh, that's what I've been asking.
Perfectly. Hi, good to see you.
Same here. Hi.
Hi, so you have the floor for the next 20 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So I have been preparing for this for a couple of minutes now. Time difference. I almost got myself lost. Okay. So we're doing the post-COVID-19 and rebranding businesses. And, I say the topic I'm about to talk on is very interesting. I consider that the simple, but again, not so simple formula to success, which is, of course, in the world of entrepreneurship, problems plus solutions equaling to entrepreneurship and wealth. Now, entrepreneurs by nature are people who are problem solvers. Entrepreneurs solve problems at the cost of making profit. With that said, let's underline that. Again, business is trying to adapt. Transitioning. Businesses are transitioning to try to adapt. I know some businesses in Sierra Leone, some of my TEF alumni members who are into fashion. What they're doing currently, they're producing masks. There are other people who are into other things, but they've completely transitioned their businesses into doing something. Some are the current problems, the needs currently that need to be addressed. And this present also would help us to metamorphose into the future for post-COVID. So at this point, every business is adjusting. You look at what's needed during this era. How can I adjust my business in a way that I would be making money, and then my business will still survive and I can help contribute towards the fight against Corona. Now, at the end of Corona, we're going to have a similar situation. Some businesses have already transitioned, so there's going to be that period to rebrand your business back. Like I said, a couple of my TEF alumni members that I know who have transitioned from the world of fashion to now doing masks, helping with care pack, sanitary care pack, and all of it. Now, after Corona, you're going to need to transition back to that business, that brand you had that people knew before Corona. Now, that is again another issue. The problem already. How are you solving the problems we have? What visions do you have by the time we're done with this phase? What visions do you have for your business? Are you going to go back to your line of business you had initially before Corona? Or are you going to stick to the new line of business during Corona? 10 chances to 1, this new line of business is not going to be sustainable. That's in the case of procuring or manufacturing masks. After COVID, who's going to need a mask anyway? Nobody would be needing a mask except for other reasons, but masks would not be highly sought after. So of course, the mask issue, it's not going to be continued. So at this period, this is where, businesses vary. People are into different kinds and types of businesses. So at this point is when business owners, you the CEOs, the entrepreneurs, you begin to think about the transitioning. And after Corona as well, there are going to be new business opportunities. So likely some of you are going to transition into new areas as well. You're going to want to invest into new areas, venture into new fields as far as entrepreneurship goes. We solve problems. Again, entrepreneurs are problem solvers. We solve problems at a cost. That cost, of course, is our profit. It's why we're doing it, not just for the passion. So after Corona, it's when you sit back and realize what are the problems that we currently face as a country and as a continent? What are the problems I see right now? How can I solve these current problems? What would be the cost I am going to attach to this solution I am bringing into this problem? That would be your new business. Some of you would be able to continue the businesses you were doing before, but some of you would have to go into a whole new line of business, either just because it's an opportunity or because your previous business you were doing is going to take a while to kick off and get back on track. However, there are going to be new business opportunities after Corona, post-COVID. The solutions to the many problems. Right now, we're not seeing all the problems that Corona has brought in the countries, that they are in the continent. We don't see all of them. Towards the end, or at the end of the coronavirus, a lot of these problems would become more conspicuous. We would be able to see them more and understand that this has been another problem brought by coronavirus. This
Right.
is where you think smart. This is where you engage your entrepreneurial inner man. This is where you become creative and innovative. This is where you begin to bring about solutions to those post-COVID problems. And those problems, like you're surviving now, business people, you're surviving during this era by providing sanitary packs for people, making masks. While some of you are doing deliveries, you go around buying food stuff for people based on orders, so they don't have to go to the market and then you deliver to them. So after coronavirus, again, you're going to need to come up with solutions to the problems that would have emerged in your country and in the continent, that you'd be able to say, I am solving this problem. You fix a cost on it, and then you make money. So that's how a lot of businesses would be able to survive post-COVID. And once you survive, because again, we're dealing with numbers here, we're talking about money. For your previous business you were doing to survive, you're going to need more money to produce. Those of you who had run out of raw materials to produce. Again, I'll make a reference to, well, my business is into media and entertainment, but again, I'll make reference to people who are in clothing and fabric business. Now, some of them ran out of raw materials to do their production because it's difficult to get at this period. Some people would order their raw materials from other countries. Others depend on local producers in their country to produce, especially those who are doing in African fabrics. You're out of raw materials during this period. So again, it means post-COVID, you're going to need money to procure those raw materials for you to go back into production. And how are you going to be able to raise that money? It's from those of you who are currently doing other businesses around Corona to stay alive and survive. You're going to need to keep some of the profits you're making right now. You're going to keep those, and that's what's going to come in handy. Those of you who are not doing anything right now, I know some of the businesses are shut down. Some people are really still cracking their brains to understand how can they survive during this period. Now, post-COVID, you still need to continue that trend, thinking out of the box. What can you do post-corona? You would not have all the answers right now because, like I said earlier, we're not even aware of all the problems that would emerge after corona. Post-COVID, we're not sure of what the situation is going to be. Who knows what problems would emerge and what solutions they would require, but that's part of your responsibility. Looking around those problems and thinking, how do I solve these problems? Because that's a way for you to make money. And that money you make is going to help you transition back into the business you were doing before Corona. So once you're able to raise some amount of funds, coming either through profits, because again, the issue of loans, grants, and all of it is a struggle right now. So you rely on yourself to make that money you would need to continue your business. So it's like you're searching for your capital all over again. Right. You're going to need that capital to go back into getting what you were doing in the first place. Get the money, help yourself launch back into the business you were doing before Corona. And it's going to engage a lot of advertising as well. So whether you're using social media, you're using mainstream media, you're going to have to place a lot of emphasis on advertising as well, because post-COVID, it's going to be very competitive. Most of those businesses who are almost dead by now or dormant by now some of them would want to come back into operation. They would want to claim back their customers. They would want to secure new customers. So it's going to be very competitive. At this point, when you have free time, what you're supposed to be doing right now is come up with solutions, create solutions as to how you're going to be able to raise the money for you to be able to launch that business back, and also develop your strategies. How are you going to advertise your business after post-COVID? What messages would you be sending across as advertisement to your customers and would-be buyers for your business? These are all things you need to be doing right now. So even though we're distracted with Corona, entrepreneurs should never be distracted. We should always stay busy. This is a period for us to use our brains 24/7. It should be clicking, it should be ticking. this is the period for you to use it. So post-COVID, have your plans right now. Are you going to go back into the business you were doing before Corona? Or would you be solving problems that would emerge post-COVID? And how would you be advertising your business post-COVID to get customers? So it's very important we get these down. I'm gonna open the floor now for questions. Those of you who have questions that I can respond to.
Okay, so I for sure have one. Thank you, Fabian. Like you've been so down to earth on the problems, you know, that we are going to face. So something that struck me, you said, right now, don't focus, if you've lost your business, you know, focus on solving like immediate problems to be able to raise some kind of capital so that post-COVID, you've kept aside some money, you know, to use, you know, refinance your old business or to do something else. That's just so amazing for me.
Yeah.
But like your business, you're into entertainment. You guys are still making money this period.
Because it's very important. Yes. And I've seen businesses, like I said initially, in Sierra Leone, where the business owners, the entrepreneurs have completely transitioned.
Sorry, I think you're moving.
Into something else. Those do fashion, like I mentioned, do masks, and some have also nations who are raising up money for companies. They're also now searching for people who are doing coronavirus messages to produce for them.
Yeah.
So as a way they stay in business. So this is the period for us to be to you know, engage our entrepreneurial mindsets. Entrepreneurs don't give up in the middle of a challenge. Entrepreneurs are people who solve problems. I keep saying that's the difference between entrepreneurs and business people. A businessman comes to buy and sell and make profits, period. That's the beginning and the end of their story. Whereas entrepreneurs come to look for problems. They look at the problems, they analyze the problems, and they find solutions to those problems at a cost for people who need that solution. That's the life of an entrepreneur. And that's what makes the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person. So even during this period, entrepreneurs, this is a time to defend your title as an entrepreneur. Be innovative and creative. How do you stay afloat in this sinking ship?
Right. So I just want to ask, what kind of businesses, you know, I know, you know, you didn't plan for it, but would you suggest that female entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at this point to be looking at? What sort of industries do you think is ripe at this moment?
What industries are ripe to enter into at this moment?
Oh, we are losing you.
Yes. So at this moment, the demand. Yes. At this moment, there's a heavy demand for masks. There's a heavy demand for PPEs for medical people. There's a huge demand for test kits. It's just all things centered around Corona. Very recently, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I read there was a publication on LinkedIn about two people in South Africa, two young entrepreneurs in South Africa, who were able to develop a test kit for COVID. And I think the results come out in about 65 minutes, and it's about 3 times cheaper than the one sent in Africa from the West. Can you imagine this? So these are entrepreneurs thinking in line of the current day problem. So the businesses that people can venture into, entrepreneurs can venture into during this period, are businesses that are centered around the fight against coronavirus. So masks, you would not go wrong with masks. People need masks. And some people don't want to use the same mask over and over again, although they're reusable masks, but some people don't want to do it. They just, once they're done with one, they're done. So people can make masks and sell. It's gonna sell. help with sanitizers. You could also help people, those who are at home, who are scared of going to the markets. Get a line where they contact you. So if now this is, you're not going conventional by the street business you do it. This is completely unconventional. It's out of your business line, but this is you surviving. You're activating your survival mode during this period. So here's what you do. Get a number where people can contact you. So you get you and your team, you will be able to help them. Those who want to go to the market, but they're scared because they don't want to contract the virus, you'll be that hero at a cup. So you go to the markets for them. Those who want to buy fish, pepper, you need it, food stuff, buy it. Countries that are going through a lockdown, get your lockdown package you will be selling to people. Get it, of course, by again, the people you will be targeting. You know, there are poor people who could only afford gari and stuff like that. So you have that special package. You know, there are rich people who can afford to buy good fish, who can afford to buy rice, vegetables, fruits, those who can afford to buy even multivitamins and vitamins. Make your package, put a price. You know, it's like we do during Christmas period, Ramadan, Easter. They have these things they do that you can just buy for somebody. You can make a similar gift bag, but only that it's just essentials that people need during this period. Essentials that can include Dettol, hand wash, hand sanitizers, vitamins, multivites, paracetamol for headaches, ORS as well. People would need those. Put all those in your hygiene care pack and make it available for people to buy. You could also have another pack of just food items. Food items, it could be vegetables, it could be fruits, it could be even rice being measured in some quantity, being sold to people. So these are all things that people need during this period. And there are people also, there are countries where there are lockdowns and some people have run out of food. If you have connections and ways to get a pass, this could be a good business for you at this period. You could talk to your local authorities to see if they would be able to help give you permission to move around, to supply those people who have run out of food items, so they would buy from you. You get their numbers, you deliver the food to them, and they pay you. But again, as you're doing this, please stay safe. You're also not immune to coronavirus. You would also have to observe the precautionary measures. Wear your mask, wash your hands frequently, and be safe. So yeah, this is how we can also survive during this period and even immediately after Corona. Yes, post-COVID is going to take a while. It's going to be in phases. You have the immediate post-COVID and the long-term post-COVID. The immediate as well, you would have to see. Of course, again, like I said, we're not sure what the situation would look like after COVID, but when the situations arise, it's in us entrepreneurs to come up with solutions to those problems that would emerge. So solve these problems and make money during this period. Stay alive and stay alive post-COVID as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Fabian. So from what you've said, what really strikes out for me is two industries. So you've mentioned logistics. So
Yes.
to be able to move things around since people are scared of going out. So logistics is great. You've also talked of food because people will always eat, you know, so we should find a way to move food around to people. And then you talked of the health sector to be able to provide, like I said, the masks and the PPE and the testing kits. So these three industries are really key for us at this moment as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Thank
Even
you.
beyond that, people can look at and what stations being created by entrepreneurs. So think. There's something in you somewhere. There must be an area of this COVID fight where you have a solution. Think, and get something. Even if you're selling your own branded buckets for people to put as wash stations, there's something you can do during this period to survive.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure all the way from Sierra Leone. We've never met before. Someone recommended you to me, and I'm super, super excited that I listened to this recommendation. You've given us amazing Amazing idea. It's a beautiful session. I would really love to meet you one day in person.
Yes.
Thank you, Vivian. So we'll go straight right to the next speaker. I will just introduce that speaker. Next speaker is Dr. E.C. Idemudia. She's an enterprise solutions architect with over a decade of experience in building and designing enterprise-wide solutions. In the last 5 years, EC has been primarily focused on designing migration architectures for Fortune 500 companies across verticals to migrate their workloads from on-premises to Amazon Web Service Cloud, AWS. EC has led and managed an incubator for startups to take their ideas from an idea to a product and to the market, leading about 10 startups through this process in her incubator called Founders Cafe. EC Idemudia is a published author of Out of Africa and Into the Cloud, where she inspires young women to overcome their fears and get into technology. EC is the mother of 2 beautiful daughters, Ivana and Shilomi. Welcome, Dr. EC. So you have the floor for the next 20 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I almost couldn't recognize myself. Yeah, it's been so amazing. All of the speakers from yesterday and today is just mind blowing. Thank you, Boss Babes, for having me. And I'm gonna go straight right into it. Let me know if can you see my screen? All right.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about a subject that I'm sure a lot of people have heard before, and maybe it's been a little scary. People don't quite understand it, but we're going to talk about how this subject is actually going to enable us during this COVID period and even post-COVID era. And that's a topic on artificial intelligence. So what exactly is AI? You hear somebody talk about AI and robotics and all of that. So what exactly is it? It's just a combination of technologies that augment human intelligence. So we know that humans, we are super intelligent, but we have our limitations. Our limitations include what's happening now in COVID. We can hardly go out. We're confined into our homes, but the AI systems and AI machines are not impacted by COVID. So that's why we can actually use them as enablers for our business. So we use, the way AI works is that it uses a lot of, it learns from experience, and then based on that experience, it will adjust based on its mistakes and its successes, and then get better and better. And based on that, it's able to perform human tasks. So for business owners, we're going to be narrowing down to sales and marketing, because at this point in time, you can no longer go out to speak to your clients or to your customers. Everyone is confined indoors. So how can we use AI to sell our products? Based on all the conversations from yesterday, a lot of new businesses will be springing up. Either they're going to just be ad hoc in the time being, or people might eventually find and pivot into new businesses. Now, is this a new area? Imagine that you've been doing something the last 10 years, but now you have to change what you were doing, your business idea, business strategy, into something totally brand new, like producing a mask or hand sanitizer or bowls. So how can AI help you, to spread the word, to sell more of those products and achieve more? So we're going to see how technology meets behavioral science, because people buy from you based on certain behavioral patterns and behavioral thought process. So the process of identifying all available behavioral indicators and provide insights on which behaviors or traits are more prominent than others. And then we achieve this by analyzing the behavior of customers. So customers that are buying hand sanitizers, customers that are buying face masks, customers that are buying your new agricultural product, customers that want to buy food from you, how do they behave? Are there any similar actions amongst these new customers? And then how can we learn from their behavior? And then so we can sell better to them. We're going to be looking at the Amazon algorithm to see how Amazon is the largest e-commerce platform in the world. We're going to be seeing how Amazon uses AI, to increase their sales. So we'll see how we can copy them. So this is what this is Amazon.com. And then I just clicked on right here, African wigs. For instance, I want to buy African wigs for Black women. We'll see how Amazon uses AI to understand the mindset and the behavior and the patterns of people who search for African wigs for Black women. So apart from the price information, right here you can see that it's showing us some related items, wigs, and then it's showing this women hooded cloak. So for this to be coming here, it means that 95% of times when people search for human wigs, they search for hooded cloak. What is the relationship? We don't know, but there's a lot of behavioral scientists who at the background have gone through all of this thought process, put it into an AI machine, and then this is what the output looks like.
So, and the agent, people that are.
Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah. So you can see right here, it says, what other items do customers buy after viewing this item? So it shows us that there's a pattern. Once this item has been viewed, 98% of the time, they come and view this other item. So this is the behavior science behind customers buying. If we do another search, for instance, if we search for toothbrush, and I'll pick one toothbrush, for instance. Now, it's showing you immediately after the customers choose that item, they come and look at all these other items. So this is, if you're selling any of these items, then you're automatically based on customers' behavior in the same category. Now, how do you find the category where your business is so that you can go and find your customer? You cannot drive to your customer, but you want to be able to find your customer using AI. So I'm going to go straight back into the slides. So there are a few tools out there in the market that you could use to find what category your business is, where your customers are, category where your customers are. So you could use those keywords to find them. So we use AI to discover new target segments. Those are the customer segments. Then we're also using AI to get advanced keyword targeting and also to identify our audience overlaps. There are different audiences that overlap. So audiences will buy toothbrush, will buy toothpaste, for instance. Will buy, if you're buying a wig, then they also buy hoodie. So those are how your customers and your audience overlap. So we're going to use AI to be able to identify, this overlap and different categories. So there's a tool that I use, it's called Trapica. So I will drop this link It's free. I'll drop it in the chat. So we could also, at our own time, look at it and see how it works. So right here, if you put in, for instance, if your product or your business is music, and you want to find your customers, you want to find what keywords. Remember, we want to target new customer segments. We want to find people that are interested in music. We have, Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media platforms. There's millions and millions and millions of people. What keywords can we use to target new segments? So when you put in music, it shows you similar keywords. You can see there's over 30 different keywords that you could use. And what's the overlap? You can see this is 98%. So each time you have music, anytime somebody on the internet, anywhere on the internet, searches for music, 98% of the time, they search for hobbies and activities. And what's the audience size for people searching for music, hobbies, and activities? It's 480 million people. That is a huge audience that if you don't realize, if you want to spend money in doing marketing, and it's going to be so expensive, but with a simple AI tool just from your laptop or for your phone, you can discover overlap audiences, and you can discover what keywords to use when you're promoting your new product. We would take a look at, so this is the site, it's just topeka.com. If, for instance, the last session, the last speaker just talked about food and drinks, and now you want to advertise on social media that you're now doing, you're now cooking and doing delivery of food and drinks, and then you come right here. What keywords do I want to use to market to identify the right audience? Food and drink, and then you say enter. Let me be sure it's not saved. Okay. So these are all the similar keywords to food and drinks. For some reason, hobbies and activities, entertainment, shopping and fashion, technology, food, sports, shopping, travel, movies, business, games, family, reading, fitness, and wellness. And you can see this overlap. You're seeing the percentage of overlap between your original search, which is your original business, and similar businesses or similar keywords that are being searched. So 98% of the time when food and drink is searched on the internet, hobbies and activities are being searched. And there's a total audience of 480 million people. So this tool does a whole lot of marketing insights analysis for you. And this is the power of artificial intelligence. You don't have to hire a marketing staff. Nobody has the money to pay marketing staff right now. But with this tool, you can quickly get all of that insight. So keywords, advanced keyword targeting. So on Facebook alone, there are over 40,000 targeting keywords. What keywords are you going to, we've spoken about this, what keywords are you going to use when you're promoting your new business? So those keywords are now combinations of keywords. All of those keywords that the tool has identified for you, those are the keywords you're going to be using to market, to expand your search, your customer search reach. And then stop spending hours picking keywords and trying to identify what keywords and what segments, where are my customers. The tool, once you put in your search, what you're looking for, if you're looking for hair, if you're looking for music, food, mask, you put it there, and then it identifies all the combination of keywords that you can use to get into, to expand your reach. So I think that is really all for me. I wanted to put the link so that everyone can see. There's different tools that you can search for, but this is just one that I really like so much. Do I have to share? Choma, do you have the link?
What link, please?
I
So,
sent.
the one you just posted? No.
I haven't posted it yet. Okay, I would. Let me stop share, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the link, tropica.com. You can go and it can help you to identify keywords and market segments where your customers are.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there are any questions.
Right. So thank you so much, Dr. EC. You know, when we hear AI, for some of us that, you know, we just be like, oh no, these tech guys have just come again. You know, we just want to push it aside. So I want to thank you for breaking this down, you know, and showing us that as business people, at least we should be able to know the basics and how AI supports our marketing and advertising of our businesses, and we can do that in-house. So I think you can take some questions from the chat group, and then I have my personal question as well.
Okay. So someone saying, does that apply to target location? Yes. So this particular tool is focused on just the keywords, but in terms of the behavioral science, this AI is supposed to be able to generalize. So the accuracy of an AI tool is how well the tool can generalize. So how well that tool can work in Africa, work in the US, work in the Middle East, and in Asia. So yes, it would work. That's what, if I'm answering your question correctly, if I got a question, it's going to work wherever you are and identify the same kind of audiences and overlap and keywords for you.
Right.
So what kind of searches do we call this? They are marketing keyword search. So you want to identify your customers and your customer segments. So you want to find them, you want to use the right keyword. So when you're marketing, you're doing online marketing, different strategies on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, wherever you're marketing, you need to use keywords. They'll ask, there is a session where they'll say, put your keywords. So this will help you to identify the keywords to use in your marketing, because that's where your customers are. Okay, I think.
Okay. So I'll just show mine out. So now, for instance, I want to go into this new healthcare business because of COVID-19. And I want to use AI for business. I want to use AI because, I mean, I'm stuck at home and I have access to internet and yeah. So can you put me through the first 3 steps I should take? I mean, I've identified my product and I've identified what I want to do, you know. Can you just put me in like the next 3 steps to take?
Okay, so I mean, there's a couple of tools, but first of all, you need to identify who your customer is. Where is this customer, right? And how can you find the customer? So these are the 3 things that AI is going to help you do with little or no stress. You go onto this platform called tropica.com. There's a few other ones. If you just Google, AI marketing tools, they're going to come up, the free ones, the paid ones, and then you put in, so healthcare, you put in mask, for instance. You search mask because you want to know where your audience are. You search mask and it's going to give you different keywords, combination of keywords that your customers who are searching for masks on the internet are also searching for these neighboring items or neighboring words and neighboring keywords. And the way marketing works on the internet is using keywords. That's how, and that's what we call the hashtag. Those are keywords. Those are on social media, they call it hashtag, but AI, those are keywords. So to identify the keywords where you can find your new customers, you go on the tool, you put in your business name or your business product, you click on enter, and it gives you the first 20 keywords that you can use during your marketing. You copy it. So after searching, you copy your first 10 keywords. Those first 10 usually have above 95% accuracy. You copy those, and then when you're promoting on your social media platforms, these are the keywords that you use. So if you're saying mask, find, design mask for everyone, stay safe, you must now include these keywords. Find a way to make sure that these keywords are included in what in your marketing pitch. These keywords must find their way in your marketing pitch. Whether it makes sense to you or not, research has already been done on how these keywords are related. So make sure you use these keywords in promoting your new product.
Right. I mean, this is so amazing. Like, so imagine me, I'm trying to market for mask, or I'm trying to market for a movie industry, and then I will never think of putting hobbies and activities,
Correct.
into my, when I'm trying to market or do sponsored ad, I would never on a normal day want to put hobbies and activities on that sheet. So wow, this really explains it. Thank you so much. I think you have one more question there.
Okay. Yes, it does. So go into the platform and put in design. You have to play around with your words a little bit. So instead of putting graphic design, you just throw in design, and you will see the people that are searching for design on the internet. What you will find out the other keywords that they also search for. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Isi. It's been mind blowing. Oh my God.
I wanted to just, as I wrap up, I just wanted to talk about my book real quick. I'm publishing my memoir on the 6th of May. That's in about 2 weeks. And I'd like for you guys to come on. It's going to be a huge promo. I'll make it almost free just to get the book out to a lot of girls. You can see Out of Africa and Into the Cloud, girls can code too. So it's just my life story of how I got into tech and how I moved through the journey. And I believe it can encourage not just girls who want to go into tech, but just encourage girls and women to overcome their barriers and fears and societal limitations and to be successful. Thank you very much for having me, Boss Babes.
Thank you. Right, so we'll go right into the next speaker. I'll just read her profile. So give me 1 second. Yep. We are really doing good with time. Next speaker is Sarah Mumba. She is a seasoned Zambian entrepreneur with various business affiliations in cross-border supply trade She holds a bachelor's degree in commercial law, a communication management degree, a certificate in diplomacy, and an MSc in international studies. She is also a certified business mentor who holds an advanced mentor training certificate with Griffin Works Mentor for Entrepreneurs. She participates in programs that deal with mentoring Zambian women in business. So welcome, Sarah. I mean, the beauty about this is that we have people from all over the world. Yesterday, we had from Germany, we had from Dubai, we had from the US, we had from Nigeria. Today, we've had Sierra Leone. Now we've had Zambia. Dr. Isi was from the US. So, I mean, this is just amazing. I feel like just shouting. Okay, so Sarah, you have the floor.
Hi, Shoma.
Hiya.
Hello, Shoma. Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm Sarah Mumba from Zambia. And as Shoma mentioned, I'm a business entrepreneur in different various businesses, mostly that involve cross-border trading and various ones that also involve locality trading. I'll start with giving a brief perspective of the type of businesses that I've been involved in. I've been involved in businesses such as party decor. I've been involved in businesses of supply, you know, with various niches. It could be NGO related, it could be supplying shops, it could be furniture related. I'd bring containers and various things. And I must say, it's been a great journey. I've been in business for over 10 years now, and it's been a great journey with several different types of ups and downs here and there, tackles and everything, bumps, but I mean, you still get back to proportion. Yeah, and the life of an entrepreneur is one that's kind of challenging, to say the least. You have a lot of hurdles, but I mean, you gotta overcome them because you need to be the business icon that you want to be and that you've dreamt of being. And I'll look at the Zambian perspective. Yeah, I know trade involves several different places, but I'll narrow it down to my perspective with the Zambian niche. For instance, like in Zambia right now, we are also victims of the coronavirus. Although to say we don't have huge numbers yet, and I hope it stays the same. I hope we can manage to control it. Our statistics currently stand at 75 or 80, between there. And our government has tried really hard to contain it, and they've put in a lot of measures to try and eradicate the virus from, you know, from spreading and growing severe and everything. So with the business climate, it has hit us hard. I would say, mostly on the entrepreneur side. Like for trade right now, we have issues where we're on a partial lockdown. We haven't yet been declared full-time lockdown, but we've been put on a partial lockdown, let's say for 2 weeks and 2 weeks going on. But since then, we've had situations where we've got goods stuck. For me, who's in cross-border trade, we've got goods stuck at the border, or we've got goods stuck in China or Hong Kong or Dubai, wherever we decide, wherever we trade with, you know, and it's been kind of hard because then it puts you on a go slow. And then that means that you don't get your finances on time, you can't plan effectively, and you can't do this and that to help yourself grow. You know, everything is just stagnant right now. So looking at the business side, for instance, importing. I had a situation where the coronavirus, when it broke out in China in December, I usually do trade with China mostly. Out of all the other countries that I deal with, China is my biggest trade partner with regards to furniture, with regards to all sorts of other import things like regalia, clothing, you know, and all. So in December, when the news broke out of the first coronavirus issue in China, our suppliers informed us to say the government had put in measures that they would halt the business markets there, and whatever orders we'd have would have to go on a hold until everything got back to normal. So at that point, I had just left China 2 weeks before the news broke out. And that meant that I had left goods for order that I needed to have loaded and sent to my country for trade. However, looking at what transpired, it meant that the goods could not be produced. Some of them had been produced. The majority of them were still in production. And that meant that we couldn't even load. So since then, there was an issue now of we cannot load, we have to hold on to all the goods, and until we get back on track, then we can only start. So it took, I think up to March is the only time we got some green light from China to say, at this point, your goods could be released and put on, we could start loading them to send them to Africa. Well, at that point here in Africa, you're sitting on one side here and one side there, because I'm thinking I've got goods coming and I don't have sufficient goods to trade right now. So how am I going to pay school fees? Right. How am I going to look at all other things? I've got 3 kids sitting and looking at me, and I need to be in school online. Yeah, it may not be physically, but online, and I still have to pay. And I've got several other bills to look at, the different other things to attend to, and keep the business going. And I have to make my profits. Now, here I am starting to make losses because I don't have goods to supply to my suppliers. And guess what? My goods form a luxury clientele. It's luxury goods. They're not, the basic necessities that one would need in an everyday home, such as food and the rest of the things. It's now going down to furniture. Well, I don't think I'll need furniture this trip because, with the coronavirus, I got to put furniture on hold, yo. You got to wait. So you're going to have to wait for, I don't know how long till I decide I may need those orders that I ordered. The next client that placed an order, I'm sorry, right now business is bad. Things are shut, so I can't even pay up, upfront for what I ordered. So the deposit is only what you can hold on to until I recover. The next one, it's another story and story and story. Okay, so then now what happens? What do I do in the meantime? While I'm still sitting here and thinking my goods are still in transit, still about to get to my country, I need to clear them. That means money to clear, money to transport, money for everything. So as an entrepreneur, how do I survive? So the next thing now, I got to think out of the box. I have to look at the necessity. What's the necessary arrangement now? Everybody now, I try and contact my suppliers. Every supplier of mine has now switched trade. Okay, what are you trading? No. Like in China, no, cannot trade in this business anymore. We make masks now, huh? Now we're dealing with thermometers. So now even those that you would order things like clothing and things like that, everybody's now dealing in masks. Everybody's now talking about gloves. Everybody's now talking about a different thing. So as an entrepreneur, what do? I have to sit down and say, look, I got to keep my trade going. Mm-hmm. I know that I didn't manage to get my goods in on time, or my goods in at the border, or my goods starting off from wherever they're meant to start from. But I'm not going to sit and wait for 6 months. I'm not going to sit and wait for 1 year till the coronavirus goes or a vaccine is found. I need to think of a strategy. I need to change my strategy. I need to change my mindset. So how much do I have in my reserve? Or do I have to borrow? Do I need a loan? Well, okay, I'm part of what they call a village banking, which is a women's banking group that focuses on women putting money together, and you can borrow when it's time and pay like a 10 to 15% interest. So I look at that perspective. Okay, do I need to go now, fetch my village banking money and go and try and think of new supplies for me to keep another business trade going to survive? So, okay, let me think. Will it be worth it? What if at that point that I get the loan and I bring in the masks and the gloves and the thermometers and then there's no coronavirus? Will I make a loss? So all those questions come in now as an entrepreneur. You start thinking, you do a SWOT analysis. Now you're okay, let me look at the strengths, let me look at the weaknesses of it, let me look at my opportunities, and let me look at the threats.
Yeah.
So now you're thinking, okay, but this is business. If I don't take a risk, then I will sink. And I believe that in every crisis, there arises an opportunity, you know? So, okay, if I'm not gonna change my trade to that of masks and gloves and the necessities that are needed for the virus, the surgical, you know, gear for the doctors and everything, what will I do? The next basic and modest thing that's needed right now is food. Should I switch to food supply? Because I know that I'm not gonna tell, nobody's gonna tell their stomach to wait for tomorrow. If it's hungry, they're gonna need to eat. But for luxury goods, they're gonna tell me to wait a year, 6 months or whatever till they recover. So now it all falls down to changing my strategy. I change my strategy, my business strategy. Now, how am I gonna manage? Okay, let me try and take a gamble. Let me try and take a risk here. So what do I start with now? Let me trade with masks. Let me trade with gloves. Let me see all the pharmaceutical companies in my country. Let me take samples. Let me have them look at samples. Would they be interested in this type of masks, like the so-called popular N95? Would they be interested in these surgical gloves? Because now the public is required to have certain things like gloves and masks everywhere. Okay, let's give it a try. So here I am. I decide now, let me try and get a few samples. While I sample them out, let's see how many people will order. Okay, before I know it, a government rule comes in. Every individual in the country is required to put on a mask. Wow, it works to my perspective. So it looks like my change of strategy decided to have an acceptable rule. Lucky me, if I may say, or maybe lucky me for taking a risk and trying out. And here I go now, parade my new kind of formative business and take it, start off with that new route. Well, that's my side of my story, but I'm looking at several entrepreneurs. For instance, I do mentorship with women in business, and we're looking at women with brilliant ideas, women with a lot of ways to, you know, a woman is like a think tank, unbelievable, huh?
Right.
The amount of ideas they come up with, the amount of, I don't even know what to say about a woman. All I'll just say is a woman is just the strength, the backbone to everything. So I've got women who are in farming. I've got women who've decided to branch off in businesses such as breeding anchovies, you know, the fish, the little tinned fish that we get imported into our country from South Africa or from places like China or different places. So these women now are taking advantage of the rivers that we have in our country to do the anchovy fish. We've got women looking at cashew nuts. Cashew nuts is one of the biggest business outside, like for instance, in the United Arab Emirates. So cashew nuts are grown in a specific province in my country, let's say Western province. So you've got women now venturing in cashew nut businesses. You've got women now producing oil for cooking. You've got women now doing microfinancial loans. You've got women looking at different ways. Tomatoes, which is a very good business during a certain peak here. So all those women now, when I look at them from an entrepreneurial background, let's put it on the scale, who survives and who doesn't. I've got a number of friends that own boutiques, shops, clothing lines. So how do they rebrand their strategies? How do they change? They need to find a way to rebrand themselves, because if they're gonna sit and wait for somebody to walk by that used to come into the shop and perhaps buy an outfit, that may not be the case right now, because the system has changed. Everybody now is looking for something that will give them a profit, that will give them, nobody is looking to spend right now on a luxury item. The only things people are looking to spend to right now are necessities, basic necessities. Because right now it's all about guarding your finances So now it's a question of trying to survive. How do they survive? So one of the ways I think the platforms they could use now is the internet. Yeah, definitely everybody's scared now. Everyone is afraid to roam around So you're definitely going to have to have a plan B. Think of what you're going to have to do. I'm going to have to now, if I don't have an internet page for my boutique, I'll have to introduce one. I'll have to promote it on Facebook, for instance. Maybe put up a few sales and put up a few items that can attract people. And I'll have to have maybe a small delivery service or join an free delivery service if people don't want to come and fetch the goods. So right now, this coronavirus has brought us a situation where small entrepreneurs may either shrink or stay afloat. That's where the biggest problem is. So it depends on how strong you are and how challenging you want to be in order for you to get through it. I'll give an example with other countries have bailout programs for their citizens. They've got a certain amount of money set aside for the locals to get loans and facilitate their small businesses so they don't lose out and the country doesn't lose out on income and external service. So in our country, I do know that the Ministry of Finance has set out a certain amount for small business holders at a certain interest rate lower than the usual and collateral based. However, the question is, will the majority of people meet the interest-based term with what they intend to do? Or will the majority have the collateral to give in order for them to get those loans? All those are questions now that will need to be put on the table and analyzed effectively before one can want to take a risk. So I must say, for some people, definitely a risk is evident because they'll need to survive. For others, they might be too scared to try and attempt because it requires collateral. And you know, when it's a situation of collateral, everybody thinks twice because you're not sure if the challenge you're willing to take on will bring you the promising results that you intend to seek.
All right, Sarah, just 2 minutes more before we take questions so we can wrap up. So just give us your concluding remark.
Okay, I'll say, you know, normally I focus mainly on women entrepreneurs, but I know entrepreneurship is both male and female.
Right.
I'll say the dynamics that we're facing right now will be a passing phase. And for us, this is a challenge for us to carry on. It doesn't matter if we hit rock bottom, we still have to keep trying until we get there. Coronavirus will definitely pass and we'll definitely get back on our feet and get back to where we were. So whatever businesses we are doing, whatever new mechanisms we can come up with that will support them, put them back on the market and push them to go, let's carry on. As for all the women, let's do it. There are no obstacles, and to everything we do, whatever challenge, we take it and run until we get there. We don't give up, we keep going strong and united.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you have a question on the chat box. Do you want to read it and try to answer it on the chat room? Yeah.
Okay, let me just check. How do I, sorry, I'm new to Zoom, so I'm not too sure. And my son that was assisting me with this just disappeared.
Okay, so let me just read it out for you.
Okay, please read it out for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it says, do you have new risk assessment strategies put in place doing business with China?
Yeah, actually, right now, I need to have risk assessments put in place. Because, for instance, what I'm seeing now is it won't be the same. The trade won't be the same because, number one, I think China might introduce steep measures business-wise for us to go there. Remember that Africa is the last on the hierarchy to have the coronavirus, while some of the countries are getting out of it. So now that will mean visas are going to be very hard for one to get to go on and carry on trade. There's going to be issues of money, policies, new policies brought in the factors of trade. So I'll have to look at the risks now to say, how do I carry on with the trade, you know, with my trade relations with all my suppliers? How do I get to protect myself? Mostly when it comes to the financial perspective, because there'll be situations, there are situations where I'd have to transfer money without me being physically there. And then when things are shipped up to me, what I get is not what I paid for. So now that means that it's a big loss and a big blow to me. So what do I do in a case where I'm not able to be there? So those are some of the assessments now that I need to put in place. How will it work for me? You know, in any case, if I don't get to travel and I don't see, if it doesn't come open up, markets don't open up soon and everything. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did perfectly. So I got 3 things I'd like to share from your presentation. You said those into fashion. I was just thinking as you were speaking, those selling clothes. Well, underwears are going to sell at this time because many people are at home, they want to look sexy, they want to feel sexy. So you can sell underwear. You can sell.
Oh
so
yeah,
even,
lingerie, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, some
lingerie,
Victoria's Secret wouldn't be a bad idea for the lockdown.
And then
Yeah,
you also
I mean, yeah, for the, yeah.
Yeah, and you also said something about agricultural exports. So like cashew nuts, you said, so organic products. So those are the kind of things that we should be thinking at this point, you know, putting resources together, how we can, you know, we can make some money because people will always eat. And then you said something about giving out microfinancial loans, you know, to people. So if you have like loose money for investment, this will be the time to be able to give people loans to go to small business.
Actually, for me, Choma, I'm glad you brought that up because for me now, I'm looking at another approach too, aside from venturing in what the coronavirus necessities are and the food side, looking at the agriculture perspective too, thinking of trying that out. I'm looking at a microfinancial small loan arrangement for women.
Right.
You know why? Right now, and it's going to be a target to marketeer women, not the high-end women, but obviously the struggling marketeer women that are going to be looking at loans worth $300, $400, because all they need to buy is boxes of tomatoes, boxes of vegetables, and sell. So now, how do I pick up that strategy? How do I conduct it? Because they don't have security that I'll take. They don't have mortgage, I mean, houses. They don't have title deeds. They don't have cars. So how am I going to come up with this policy? So what I'll do is I may look at, you know, women are always trustworthy, the majority. And I'm going to pick up a woman and tell her to say, look, bring me 5 of your trusted best friends that you know will not mess up. Because once they mess up, you're messed up. And I'm, you know, so if you can recommend other women in business that may need to trade, I can financially support you at a small interest rate. So provided you know them, you trust them, I have your house addresses, I have your, this is a gamble in any case, because you never know, they might disappear, they might not. But like I said, a mother with children will look at her kids and not want them to sleep hungry. So she's going to want to commit to doing the business. She'll get her loan of, let's say, $300. In my country, with the kwacha rate now, you know, the dollar exchange rate has skyrocketed a little bit because of what's been happening right now. So it will be maybe like 6,000 kwacha. 6,000 kwacha can get you a whole lot of tomatoes boxes from Soweto. And if she's selling them, you know, 3 pieces, 5 pieces each, every week she'll pay me my little interest. You know, and before I know it, with the 5 train of the 5 individuals that she's brought along, I will make back my money and the principal, my interest and the principal should return. But I must say the risks will be high because like I said, if they go, they're gone for good. Where do I find them? You know, regardless of knowing where they stay, or if their business doesn't take off as expected. So there will be room for losses and gain. But, you know, it's about helping, trying to see how to help one another out right now. I'll give you another thing that I did. I've got friends in business. So like I said, we women can help each other But yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's true. Great initiative, but very high risk. I agree with you. However, I'll look at one thing that I did. I looked at a way we women can uplift each other in this business trend right now with the way the coronavirus has affected a lot. I've got a lot of friends in different businesses. I've got friends doing insurance. I've got friends with travel agencies. I've got friends with bars, you know. So the ones with the bars, what they've done now, take a little bus, pack all the alcohol and do door-to-door delivery. I mean, it's some of the ways that we can make money. We got to hustle here, you know. We are entrepreneurs. So take a little bus, pack in your alcohol, call your clients. Those that need, of course, you need to be in protective gear. You need your masks on, your gloves on, your everything attire to adhere to the rules and regulations of, you know, the COVID-19. Go and supply them the alcohols. I've got friends, I created a group challenge. I told my friends, let's all support each other by putting all our female friend entrepreneurs on our WhatsApp statuses with what they do. You never know, the contacts that we have may be in need of the businesses that they may have to bring on the table. There may be a contact in my group that may need services of cargo, may see my post on WhatsApp and support my female friend. So now it should be a trend of us supporting one another and bringing back to local investment. For me right now, the best is to support local for a start. For everyone to recover, we need to also look at the local investment a lot, because a lot of locals are suffering. For instance, the aviation industry in our country, the tourism sector has been hit because the aviation industry is shut, and holidays will be a dream for a while until people get back on their feet. So now we won't be able to travel until a certain time. So when this corona finishes, what do? Who do we support first? Let's go to our local lodges in Siabonga, in Zambezi, in Livingston. By the way, we have a beautiful Victoria Falls, everybody. You can come and visit it. Yeah. After you're done with local tourism, come to international tourism. We are open for everyone.
Did I tell you I've been to Lusaka? I've been to Lusaka.
Really?
I've been to Kafue. And I've been to Livingston. So yeah. Yeah, so I love Zambia.
Shoma, come again. As soon as it settles, I'll definitely have you come over. So I can take you to Mufue now.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. We're going to take the last speaker now. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much too.
Amazing,
it's been a pleasure.
Practical session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too.
So our last speaker is Dr. Emmanuel Ray Mamunia. And I'll just say before I start, she's my academic supervisor. As some of you may know, I'm doing my PhD at the Robert University in Scotland, and she's my academic supervisor. I mean, it took me a few months to get somebody that will be interested in supervising my topic, because I wanted to, I'm studying, researching on female entrepreneurship in developing countries. So I'm so passionate about it. And then a lot of other schools I applied to said, why don't you change your topic? Why don't you tweak your topic? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to change my topic, because it's something I'm going to do for 4 years of my life. And then God sent me Dr. Emmanuel. She's been so supportive. I've just started, but she's been an amazing, very detailed academic supervisor. So yeah, let me read her profile. Dr. Emmanuel Ray Mamunia is a lecturer in leadership and organizational development at Aberdeen Business School at the Robert Gordon University in Scotland. While she is also leading the MSc Business and Management program, her primary interests lie in the role of operational managers and how they embark their teams with them, as well as the experience of women in the workplace. She's a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy, as well as an active member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development and the Chartered Management Institute. Emmanuel will share with us what she has learned about how to be an effective leader in times of crisis. So my doctor, you have the floor as our last speaker for the next 20 minutes.
Okay. Are you hearing me fine?
Yes, we are.
And are you seeing my slides now?
Not yet.
I'm just checking. I have.
Did you click on the share slide?
Screen. And what about now?
No.
Okay, just give me a second. Oh, I see. Should be all right now.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, I was going too fast. We had very different styles of presentations, and I am an academic, so I often talk to people from the practical world, but I was having in mind that I could give you a flavor of what I'm talking about in a classroom as well. And one of the topics that I focused on recently when I developed a module on strategic leadership for my master's students was crisis management, which happened just like a week or two before we went on lockdown. So it's kind of interested me even more to read about what was happening and then have in mind what consequences there were for us. So many thanks, Choma, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this event. And before I'm starting, I just want to say that I have made the assumption that you have staff members. I know that it may not be relevant to all of you, but this is kind of the assumption that I was working on here. Remember, I'm talking about leadership generally. So I'm talking about people who are managing a team, and this is what I looked at when I developed this topic on crisis management. There are three things that I wanted to talk about here. Some guidelines on what you can find in like books and so on about what are the necessary steps to manage a crisis. I then looked at the importance of the leader demonstrating directivity and acting as a role model and displaying compassion as a tricky aspect that I read about and seem to be more and more important as we look about crises being managed all over the world. They seem to be, for instance, more and more focused on being compassionate when you're interacting with your staff members, or now you're picturing yourself as a manager or as a CEO. And then I was thinking of starting a bit of reflection on what impact it has on leading during COVID-19. So what is a crisis? When you look at the characteristics for a crisis, you've got the idea that this is an unexpected event, sudden, unpredictable, and not planned. It's either as a result of a substantial misreading of the environment or being caught off guard by events. And I believe here it's us being caught off guard by events. It's difficult to control when the crisis has occurred, and costs are likely to be high for the organization, employees, and other stakeholders. And so I think we can agree that this is typically what's happening for us at the moment. In terms of guidelines, so I've looked at what are the typical advices that are made on the different stages of a crisis. I'm not too sure they are applicable for all of them in the current crisis, because we are not quite sure of the whole scope of the crisis at the moment. But I think it's still interesting for us to have a look at the usual advice. So when you look at these guidelines, you will have usually an encouragement to think about the beginning of the crisis, or if you can even prepare, anticipate for the crisis. So anticipate what kind of issue you may encounter and have a backup plan. I think it's probably a bit too late now to be investing into that at the moment, although we may start thinking about what will happen in the autumn, for instance, in case there are some more lockdown periods. This has been something that a number of governments in Europe have talked about. In the UK, they've certainly told us you have to expect that maybe we we will be able to release a bit the lockdown at some point, but we may need to put it in force again in the autumn. So there may be some aspects of preparation that we actually can engage in at the moment. You also need to learn how to recognize early warning signs that there is an impeding problem. So most of that for the current crisis, we're already past that. Once the crisis happens, you need to quickly identify the nature and the scope of the problem, but you need to do it carefully. Even if you're doing it quickly, you need to do it carefully. And you need to direct the response to the team who can act. And often this will involve the leader of the organization as part of the people who can have most influence here. You need to act in a confident and decisive way, but the thing is that, you know, generally, even when you are delegating to people in your team, when there is a crisis, you need to centralize again, because you need to have some consistency in your organization. The thing is that even if you need this centralization, you need to still be able to hear the good suggestions that people around you are having. So the best scenario is when you have actually built your relationship with the people you are working with, because you have built that trust in time. You have built a relationship, and it's making it easier for people to reach out to you quickly and pass on a message without completely disrupting the flow and daring to be giving you an advice. So again, we can see that it's important to have built a team before a crisis happens in order to manage it well. It's still important that you don't move yourself to being out of touch from the people you are working with them. You need to keep, so in terms of quickly identifying the nature and the scope, I think here it's important to have in mind what Sarah was talking about at a moment ago, for instance. What are the difficulties we are facing? How long will the crisis be? What can we anticipate for at least an horizon that we can be a bit certain of? And then what will be the impact for your business? Will the impact continue growing, or can you be a bit clear about, at least for a period of time, what kind of impact you are encountering, and how you can narrow down and have a certain horizon to focus about? What will happen to your clients and suppliers? That was something Sarah told us a lot about as well. Will we face long-term changes in the demand for our product and services? That's something as well that several of you have considered in the speeches you met just a moment ago. Will there be some durable impacts on our suppliers and their ability to support our business? Will we receive some public support at some point to help with sorting out the difficulties of our business? I know that some countries in Europe, for instance, are offering already to be helping businesses, helping paying staff members, for instance. So all of that, I think we can try and list to a certain extent, and given the current circumstances, you need to have in mind the various horizons. So what is the immediate short term, and what is the longer term? What is the really post COVID-19 one, once we really return back to not being impacted by the disease in terms of our health? So trying to have some unpacking of the various time horizon. We need to make decisions. We need to make decisions. We need to show to the people, to our staff members, that we are confident, we are decisive, we're trying to do something. People need some assurance that something is being done. Your people need to not panic, even if they're not quite sure what will happen in the longer term. You can actually try and focus on the shorter term and see what can be done during that period of time. You need to really keep people informed, because if you're not keeping people informed about what you're doing, they will have anxieties and there will be rumors. They will think that maybe you're not doing anything, maybe you're not doing it right, maybe you're not caring about them or about the business. Even if you're not quite sure what to do, you need to tell them what it is that you're not quite sure about what to do at the moment and what you're focusing on, so that people are aware that something is happening. One of the aspects for this crisis, and I think we can also have a feel for that in the discussions that we have had in the previous speeches. What can we use this crisis as an opportunity to make necessary changes? Whether this is necessary changes in the way we are functioning we are operating our business, or whether this is necessary changes in the way, in the product and services we are focusing on. So can we see this opportunity as a more longer term change? Because basically we are forced into a brutal, rapid change process. Generally, you've got more time than that. You don't have such a huge pressure to be acting that fast, but actually it can speed up some changes. I would think that, for instance, a number of businesses will continue working on a remote basis. It may actually help people considering more easily to be flexible on the time people are working. So there may be some longer term society-wide changes or organization-wide changes that this situation can actually help with. I talked about the importance of directivity. Here, you read a lot about that, and this one has been since quite some time. So you read a lot about during a crisis, the leader needs to be assertive, directive. They need to make more decisions than usual. They need to be focusing on problem solving. The thing is that even if usually people do like that you're supportive as a manager, they are accepting that you may not have the time to be as supporting as usual. I would think that here the situation will probably depend according to culture and may actually evolve with newer generations, or how we are expecting our managers to act nowadays compared to what we were expecting a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 50 years ago. So we are probably expecting our managers to be more human than they were 50 years ago. So this idea of directivity and assertiveness, and the fact that we are expecting people who have less time to be spending to supporting us, is probably still there to an extent, but not to the full extent, and probably not very durably. And I will come back to that in a minute. But remember when Apollo 13 got an issue and could not come back to Earth, so they got this accident. The way this got led, it was one decision maker. Everybody had to abide to what was decided. There was no time for discussion, no time for anybody moaning or being scared by what was happening. It was all action and all direct, authoritative type of process. So you need to focus on being directing problem solving, and you need to show initiative in defining the problem, identifying a solution, directing the response to the crisis, and keeping people informed about the event. And what I mean here is that as a leader, even if usually you're delegating some of that, there is an expectation from your employees that when the crisis comes in, you will get back into your role as the head of the organization, that you will be significantly involved in that. Even if you've got a team of people surrounding you, you are owning the leadership of the crisis. We are expecting business owners and CEOs in a crisis to be role models. That means that actually people will be, you will be observing how you're reacting. Everything you're doing, every word you are saying to people around you will be interpreted as a signal. People will interpret that this is what you think, this is what should be done, this is how they are expected to behave themselves. The research seems to have shown that people who are displaying optimism, calm, and confidence are key factors in, so it's helping people progressing better through a crisis. So it's very important not to panic as a leader, and not to show too much to your staff members that this is a really worrying situation. You probably need to do that, but you need to probably dissociate who you are showing your emotional needs, using for your emotional needs at the moment, from the people in your business that you need to lead, in order to be able to display this optimism, calm, and confidence that people in your company will need for themselves to relieve a bit their anxiety and be able to focus on some task, at least on what they can do during this period of time. Charismatic leadership is influencing followers to a high degree, according to research done in that field. And people need, so you, as a leader, you need to keep the big picture in mind and be able to think strategically. That means that you need to try and find ways to look after yourself, to look after your emotional needs, so that you are able to pass that and focusing, have a clear mind to be able to focus on the strategy and the bigger environment of your business. I was telling you that we are more and more expecting leaders to be leading with compassion in times of crisis. It's not something you find a lot in research for what people have said 50 years ago. The crisis leadership, understanding crisis is not an area of research that has yet attracted a lot of interest, but still we were focusing way more about directivity. We are moving way more to considering that compassion is important. Displaying compassion for the concerns, anxieties, frustrations of your group members is seen as really important. Because, so first, if you are speaking about that, people will be able to express their own concern a bit, and that will help them process their anxiety and process what is happening. It will also allow them to, because they will experience that you being compassionate with what's happening is helping them. It will actually make them think that, oh, actually they can also help others by being compassionate as well. So it will encourage people in your company to be helping each other, being compassionate to each other, and being compassionate to the clients, the suppliers, the community they are interacting with. It's also look like leaders making themselves personal sacrifices is seen as positive during a crisis. And for instance, in large organizations at the moment, we hear more and more about CEOs or executive teams making pay cuts. It's like a double-edged one though, because you know, like if you're making a salary cut and you're a CEO in a large organizations, everybody in your organizations will know that your salary is not such a big part of what your earnings are from the company. So it has to be perceived as something significant and not just you know, a joke, like a minor sacrifice you're making. It has to be meaningful so that people will also want to see you as a role model and will want to side by you to progress through the crisis. What is seen though is that yes, it is very important to be compassionate, but you don't want to have people stick for too long into expressing their anxiety and feeling drained by it. We tend as human beings to be needing habits, needing routines in order to feel comfortable. And actually going back to these routines or finding quickly new routines is helping us process faster and adapt faster. So the fact that you're actually pushing a bit people to find ways to be operating normally or finding a new normal will actually help people feeling much better about what is happening. What are the implications for leadership during COVID-19? So I must admit that I'm not quite sure exactly what all of us should be doing in this crisis. None of us do. This is really an unprecedented crisis. But from what I've just developed here, I think there are at least a few elements that I would say are implied here. Decisions need to be made, even if it's about a temporary way of functioning. They need to be made right away. You should not sit idle, not doing anything. You need to keep a relatively calm and confident behavior, at least in front of your employees, even if you're needing to find ways, and many of us probably need that as a moment, to find ways to get some emotional support so that we can cope better. We need as a leader to be dissociating that from what we are doing with the people we need to lead. Compassion should be evidence to staff and clients. We need to return to normal or new normal functioning as soon as possible. And yes, people need new habits. They need habits to be able to cope with anxiety better. So whatever we can do to try and help people developing new habits is helpful. And if I look at, so I'm French, obviously, from what you may have deciphered from my family name. But I live in the UK, and France has been impacted by COVID-19 faster, so they started the lockdown a bit faster. What I've observed in France is that they've been told 2 weeks lockdown, and then people were expecting it would just be 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, people have thought, oh, actually, it's time to spend it. I will just wait and see. In the UK, they told us right away, you know what? Schools are about to be closing. Don't expect it to start again before the summer. So you need to find a way to operate differently, encouraging many businesses to think, you know what, if there is a lockdown coming, and this is what the government has advised us on in universities, for instance, you need to find a way to right away, right now, hurry up to try and operate remotely. So we worked in my university, for instance, we worked for almost 2 weeks before the lockdown in getting everything moved remotely. The thing is that on the moment it was like, whoa, it's a big deal compared to France where it's like, oh, just 2 weeks, don't worry about that. But it's right away people thinking, oh, I really need to adjust because it won't just be a 2-week period. It's a new normal. I need to find a way to operate differently. I know that here I'm speaking with a background of a specific job that continues, that has sufficient reliability for me to be able that I'm not out of a job. You know, I think I'm not out of a job soon, and it's not a reality that a number of people around me are encountering. But still, I've observed that because of that knowledge, even people self-employed have, for instance, a number of people have found ways to develop their business on Zoom. Like, for instance, the taekwondo teacher for my kids has moved to deliver the teaching, so the activity at the same time as he used to, but via Zoom. So people knowing that there is no other way for a longer period of time can actually help with people feeling better. I think it's pretty much what I had for my speech. I'm not too sure how I'm doing with time. I think it's probably about...
Yeah, I think you're good with time. So we'll just take questions and answers, if that's okay. You have some question on the chat room.
Okay. Let me see, where does it start? So transparent communication with your staff is your yes, transparent communication, but you need to remember that people need communication. So that means that transparent communication is sometimes involving you telling your staff member, on that I'm not able to tell you anything. Either because the decision is not sufficiently progressed that I can confidently giving you an answer, or because I'm not there yet in considering this question. That's part of being transparent. It's not about telling people everything, because as you can see, for instance, the example in my university, in the first few days, making decision was really like back and forth, and you're thinking, oh, we do one way, and 3 hours after, no, actually we should have done it the other way. So you do need, for some of discussion, from some of the questions, to take a bit of time to be waiting the answer, but telling people that this is what you're thinking about, or at the moment, or what kind of time frame will be actually still be able to help people. So yes, staff will be scared if you're telling them that you're scared too. You can admit that you're scared to an extent, because all of us are at the moment. We're all on the same boat, and part of compassion is also to being empathetic with people. But you still need to maintain this optimism, this level of confidence, right? I'm reading a very good book at the moment. It's called "Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Fix It" by Thomas Kamaro Premovic. So it's an academic, it's a very good book, short book. His point is the primary thing we have in mind when we are hiring a leader, and sadly this is often the only one that we're having in mind when we are promoting men, is the fact that they evidence confidence. It's something that's really strongly in our appreciation of leadership. His point is, when we are promoting women, we are not just asking confidence, we're asking confidence, competence, and warmth. You could say, it's not fair. His answer is, yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to people being led by incompetent, confident people. We should actually recruit people who are men or women, recruited based on both their confidence, their competence, and their warmth. So I believe that in crisis management, it's also something that is important. You will lead better, no matter your gender, you will lead better because you are evidencing these different qualities. So tell people that, yes, it's scary for you as well, but we still need to keep on going and evidence that we can do that. How do you draw a line when dealing with staff regarding compassion during crisis? I would say here that it's not an easy question, and I think this is where you need to always keep a balance between caring about people and having a business continue. and what are the different backup alternatives that you may have to continue the business is something that you probably need to have in mind strongly here, because that will also give you an idea as to the margin for compassion that you can have. What can be delayed? What can you offer support about? If you're, for instance, if you're so compassionate that you want to take everybody's workload, how will you be able to do that? You know, you only have 24 hours in a day. So is your option that some things can be delayed or some things can be done differently? Or is your option that you are listening to people, but then when people are heard of, you are still expecting them to do the job? You may have realized, for many of you, that there, you know, when people are feeling done, there are really two circumstances. There are those situations where actually it's sufficient to a large extent to listen to people, to listen to their anxiety, to give them a bit of time, and then move on to, you know, by expressing that, people are actually feeling better, their anxiety goes down, and they are having a clearer to undertake the task. There are some other moments where you need to do more. And here, this is where you probably have to make the judgment call for a full focus on compassion. How do you help a struggling employee get out of a routine that is no longer applicable to a given task? I believe we go back to change management here. When we are at an individual level undertaking a change, we are going through a process, and a number of you may be interested in looking at Kubler-Ross curve of emotional change. And Kubler-Ross initially studied people getting to know about diagnosis of life-threatening cancer, so you're about to die of cancer, and she's also studied people who have lost a loved one, so like your husband or your wife has died recently. What are the different phases of you accepting that it has happened and moving on and changing your habits? And Kubler-Ross is telling us the first natural stage is resistance to change. You're like an ostrich. You want to put your head in the sand and refusing to see that something is happening. This stage here, you need to push people to realize that yes, the change is happening. It is normal though that people initially won't want to change. It's our natural resistance. So expect people at the beginning to be not wanting to change, to be moaning, etc. Don't be surprised by that. This is natural. All of us experience it. And actually, I would say that it's a good sign when people express it, because it means that so you've got some people that are go-getters and will move quite swiftly into adapting to things. But you also have a number of people who you will have the impression that they are adapting well, because actually they are refusing to see that it's happening. So they will nod, they will be happy, they will smile, but it's not that they are adapting, it's that they're actually trying not to see that they have to change. So if people are mourning, etc., that also means that they start realizing that they need to change. So you've actually progressed later in the curve. Then you will have the periods where people will feel angry about it, people will feel frustrated about it, people will feel sad about what's happening, up to the stage when hopefully you will only do that once, but many of us actually go back and forth for a period of time. But ultimately, the goal is that we're accepting that we do need to change, we do need to adjust, and hopefully we will do it as fast as possible. But it's a process. It never happens right away.
Right. Thank you so much, Doctor.
This is a brilliant session. We've been able to combine academic experiences with real life business experiences. It's an honor for me to have you here and for you to accept my invitation. Thank you, Doctor. So we're going to wrap up because we're supposed to finish by 6:30. I'd like you to follow us on our Boss Babe Instagram handle. It's boss_babes_ng, so that we can engage. I'm going to send out the slides to everyone who registered. We want to thank you for coming on. Yesterday was amazing. Today was amazing as well. Thanks to all my lovely speakers for accepting to be here. And for all the members, I wish that your businesses will be better and you grow and, impact lives. Thank you so much. This is the end of this rebranding session for our businesses post COVID-19. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. We're going to be around. Go on to Jesus and check whether she has sent it.
Grandmama has gone to see them. Grandmama has gone to see them. Thanks, sis. I want to go into another meeting now.
But I thought you said there was another meeting.
See, Auntie Queen just sent me something for another meeting, so we have to. Oh, it's as if I didn't leave the meeting.
Hmm?
Wait. I have to wait.